Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? What you are about to witness is real.
This is not a dream, but a new beginning.
Stand by for uplink.
The Don Hanston Show, straight up.
Thank you.
GPS uplink now completed with Google Earth. Commencing the official countdown in 3, 2, 1.
And now your hosts, Don and Sal.
Welcome to Straight Up, the Don Hanston Show. We're finally back with you. I'm Sal. Hello, Don. Good morning. How are you?
Welcome, everyone. Yeah.
Want to remind everybody, just in case they forgot, to check out our website. We've been getting a lot of traffic on there, a lot of comments, some of them good, some of them bad. But give us a visit at straightupdonhanstonshow.com. Make sure you visit that. I wanted to get that in there because we have a lot of people asking in emails what our website is. Don, I wanted to open up today and let people know that the show today is going to basically be talking about something we've brought up many times, and we keep circling back to it, and it's real simple. It's called common sense, and it seems that a lot of people have lost common sense for some reason, what's going on in the world today. And the perfect example is this plane that President Trump is getting gifted from Qatar, and the left is just losing their minds over this plane. Have you heard about this?
Well, actually, yes. I read about it, and last night I was watching actually our last episode that we made on the big screen on YouTube TV, which I think is pretty cool. Anyways, and when it ended, there was this thing, and it was MSNBC, some guy, I don't know, I think it was called The Final Word, right? And this guy was talking about how Trump accepted a plane for himself, not for the government. How this country that was a terrorist country that obviously killed, somebody with our, grace, like Trump said it was okay to kill whatever, all kinds of bullshit. But they said that he was accepting the plane for himself, that he could donate it, or he could donate it to the Trump library when he left, so it would be part of his own possession. But they came up with, that it was for him, and that our country was going to have to pay all this money to bring it up to date because it was a 12-year-old plane, and how it was going to cost us all this money to make this great plane for Donald Trump. And I just watch it because I like to hear. I don't watch news ever, and so I saw this, and I'm like, if I was in the same room with this guy, I would put my hands around my neck and squeeze the life out of him, because it's bold. Not only is it it's lies, right? So like it's trying to get people to hate Trump, and I'm so tired of the media, and I'm glad I don't watch this stuff, but it's all it is the spinorama, and we've been talking about this before Trump even got in. And the common sense on this thing is, okay, they're doing something for us because we've done something for them. Okay, it's saving the American taxpayer money,
a lot of money
by getting this as a gift. Okay, but they want to spin it, and this is something that Trump is taking. And I'm like, do people actually listen to this shit? Because I wanted to kill this guy.
It's just against Trump. They don't realize that when Trump was in his first term, he ordered a new Air Force One, because this one is over 40 years old. So he ordered a new one from Boeing, and they said it's going to be about 8 years. Well, the plane's still not ready. And when he won the election this time, he asked them, they said, no, it's still going to be about 5 or 6 more years. Why? I have no idea. So now he's forced to fly on Air Force One, which is over 40 years old. And Qatar says, we will give you a plane to use, a brand new plane, until your plane is ready at Boeing. And Boeing has its own problems to begin with. I mean, doors flying off during flights and stuff like that. We know about that from the last year. So they said, and what Trump said is that he's going to take the plane for the American people. It's for, the presidency, for everybody flies on that thing. And he says when the new one is ready, or when I'm out of office, the plane will continue to be used by the White House until the new plane is ready. Then once it's decommissioned and done, it will be donated to his library, just like I think one was donated to Ronald Reagan when that plane was done. It went to his library. But like you said, the left, all they see is Trump getting something. They're calling it a bribe. They're calling it all kinds of stuff. And they're just losing their mind. They have nothing else. They are not learning their lesson. Why? Because I believe they lack common sense. Majority of them, unfortunately.
And that's what the show is going to be about, is common
Right.
sense, because everything we talk about, some people care, some people don't care about politics. Some people are done with it. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of done with politics because it's so like nonsensical, because all it is people hating each other and people pointing fingers and people trying to blame and people embellishing the facts or telling lies. But really what it all boils down to is common sense. Does it make sense? Okay. And I think that our institutions, right? We talked about this pre-show, our institution of education, our institution of politics, all of our institutions have made reality so complex that there's no such thing as common sense anymore. It's very uncommon to have common sense. And so I think that people don't even have a clue how to use logic to create common sense. Okay?
Well, they don't. They just hear something and they side with the left because they hate Donald Trump. They will go out there and protest against things that they have no idea what they're even protesting. If Trump's for it, they're against it. That's all there is to it.
Well, yeah, and it's here's the most basic explanation of this. Okay, when people listen to words and don't watch the actions, and they base what they think based on words, that's no common sense. If a guy says, I'm not going to punch you, and he punches you in the head, you know that he's going to punch you, and he did punch you, okay? But if the guy says, I'm not going to punch you, and he punches you in the head and go, hey, he didn't punch me because he said he wasn't going to punch me in the head. Like, people are that far brainwashed that they believe anything. And so these medias, they just go on and on and on with their bullshit, okay? But then even a lot of these crooked politicians, they come up with this and that and this and that, and they do nothing, or they do the opposite, okay? But then it's the old spinaroo, right? The spinaroo is now you listen to Trump, and obviously he's got a mouth. I actually kind of like that. Be honest with you, people are like, oh, he's not nice. I like the fact, busting some balls. I like that kind of guy.
Indifferent.
And he's a good guy, and I think he's a good guy. Anyways, doesn't matter what I think. But what does matter is if you look at any of his speeches or interviews, he's done exactly what he said he was going to do. Yet the left has been crying about it. So it goes to common sense. Oh, he's doing all this stuff.
That's because he's succeeding.
Exactly.
That's why.
When you can't beat someone, what you have to do is throw a roadblock in the way so people don't understand common sense. That's why our institutions don't want. It goes back to all of our episodes. They don't want critical thinkers, right? They don't want people to be able to think for themselves. They want followers. They want people that say, you know what, this is what they said. This is how it is. They want that type of people. They don't want somebody to question them. Okay, and that's where. They don't want people to. They don't like entrepreneurs. They don't like people creating their own paths and making their own rules.
That's why a lot of the left, they don't go on the other outlets. They stick with the CNN, the MSNBC. They only go there because they can't go to Newsmax. They can't go to Fox because they're going to look like idiots.
They're going to start crying.
They are. Well, lately all they're doing is swearing. I mean, every time you see them, they're out there outraged and they're just coming up with this stuff and they're lying. It's just blatant lies. But they won't. They will not go anywhere where they will be challenged. Where you have the right, they're going everywhere. I mean, we had a bunch of people going on those networks and taking the heat and setting them straight. But they will never come to ours. Although I did see Chuck Schumer catch some grief from, I think it was CNN. And he just didn't want to answer. He goes, we're moving forward. We're moving forward because right now, going back to common sense, everything now the left is coming out like Jake Tapper. He's coming out with a book saying how bad Biden was. Well, and they're all saying, well, we didn't realize it. We didn't know it. Where's your common sense? I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor. All you got to do is watch him. The guy wandered off into the rainforest one day. He tripped over some imaginary thing that he pointed to. He fell going up the stairs 3 times. He couldn't get his way off the stage. I mean, I can go on for hours on this. But they're saying they didn't know it. And what they're saying is, like Jen Psaki, the old White House secretary for him, said, well, I'm not a doctor. How was I supposed to know? You lack common sense. How do you not see that this man was having a hard time?
Oh my, all those scenarios I'm going to say to kind of explain this is going to sound so ridiculous because the whole thing is ridiculous. It's kind of like walking through a pile of dog shit and not acknowledging the fact that you did it and tracking it through the whole house. And then somebody says your house smells like shit. And what are you talking about there? Nobody tracked dog shit. And you call the guy to shampoo the rugs, and he says, oh, yeah, there's dog shit on there. And they go, oh, well, I'm going to write a book that there was dog shit on my carpet.
That's what Jake Tapper's doing.
It's so stupid. Like, you know what? Just
they're starting to turn on each other, too. You have Chuck Todd, CBS, Meet the Press. He was the host for years. Got fired, I think, last year. He's coming out now saying, I blame the leaders of the party because they hid this from the people. They refused to admit it. Well, you were part of the problem, too. Well, they kept saying, well, like Jake Tapper with Laura Trump a couple of years ago. Laura said that Biden's cognitive abilities, and he says, oh, you're making fun of someone who's stuttering. That's not right. Coming from the Trump family, you should be ashamed. And he's like, all right, you know what, enough. And she's saying, no, there's something wrong with him. And now he's writing the book. He's hoping that interview goes away, but it's not. Newsmax keeps playing it, and I believe Fox does too.
Who's reading these? I guess the same people that's watching CNN reading.
I don't know who's going to read the books because the far left people aren't going to want to read it. They're not going to want to have that in their face going, and this getting back to the common sense. If you're sitting down watching Biden day after day, like I was for the 4 years, every morning I would turn on TV and go, now what? What am I going to see now? And every time I would say, unbelievable. I thought I've seen it all. You telling me these people lack that much common sense that they're not watching that saying, oh, yeah, this guy.
And these are the people running our country. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and they were lying to everybody. They're lying to their own party. So that's what I think the problem. And now I think it's in Jake Tapper's book. The White House was saying that if Biden won, there was no doubt he was going to have to be put in a wheelchair. They were trying not to put him in a wheelchair while him or Kamala was still running. They were trying to hold off. But, I mean, they knew what was going on, and I put a lot of this blame on the fake Dr. Jill Biden, who just wanted the power. She just wanted the power, and a lot of the left who were sticking up for him lacked common sense because they couldn't see how frail he was, his mental acuity was shot, and the world leaders of all the other countries had zero respect for him. None. Nothing. It was a disgrace for 4 years. But yet we didn't protest. We didn't burn buildings down. We didn't stand around with pre-printed signs and make a scene, did we?
Well, yeah.
No, we didn't.
Absolutely not. Well, because there's more logic. There's more, there's more
common sense.
Like, what does that do? Like, what does that do for you? It's kind of like if you got an idiot and they're going to argue with you and you engage, you're as much of an idiot as they are. So we just let them be, just go away, let them be.
That is the big issue. I'm glad you brought that up, Don.
And so if you want to engage with these people, what they did was they brought you down to their level, idiocy, right?
Yeah. And
so now you're an idiot too. So you can't point fingers at this person because you engaged with this person. And I think I had a conversation with you the other day, and you were telling me about one of your friends or something, and how he's he was saying something about one of our episodes, and he didn't agree, and this and that. And I said to you, I'll be honest with you, how are you friends with people like that? Not because they don't think like you, but if there's no logic, and there's no common sense, okay? That's how guys like me and you roll, is common sense, based on common sense, and yes. And that's how we get by in life. And so a lot of these people without common sense, believe it or not, are very educated people. A lot of these people make a lot of money, so they think that they're smarter than you and everything else, and that's fine. But the thing is that once you engage with these people, if they can speak logically, which usually they can't if they don't have a grasp on common sense, how do you communicate with those people? And I'm not saying discard people that don't agree with you. What I'm saying is, how do you interact with somebody with dialogue, with communication, that they're so far off from reality that like that conversation is not going anywhere. So
No.
either he's going to have to engage with you, agreeing with you a little bit, or you're going to have to agree with him. But when there's no agreement, basically what happens is you're butting heads. And even if you're both decent human beings and you don't want to argue and scream and talk over each other, okay, how do you bond with people that are that far off in communication? I don't understand it. And I said, I'm kind of brutal, okay, and I really don't have people like that around me, and my life is great, but there's a lot of people that want to engage, and I have nothing to do with it. I'm like, how you doing? And that's it. I just move on. And so I asked you about that, and I knew what your answer was going to be when you said it. And you're like, oh, I'm glad you asked me. Well, a lot of people base their relationships on the amount of time that relationship has been alive. Okay. And they say, well, how could I be how could I be friends with somebody for 30 years and all of a sudden disagree with them because of politics? And I said, it's got nothing to do with politics. It's got to do with common sense. And we both agreed on that, but you said, well, I can't just discard a friend because, and I said, hey, we're all different. We all roll how we want to roll. But me personally, I cannot communicate with somebody that has no logic and no common sense. I don't care how much education or how much money they make.
Well, I think it goes to what you talk about, too. This particular friend of mine, yes, I've been friends with him since high school. Great guy. Really great guy. We've gotten along great. But when it comes to politics, we don't agree. So we've kind of agreed not to really discuss politics. Every once in a while, he had some comments about the college episode, which I understand where he's coming from. Not that I agree with him, but I get it. And I like that somebody would be, and that's what I told him. I says, I'm very thankful that you watch the show, that you listen. That's really what matters to me. I'm not looking for anybody out here listening to us to agree with me. I don't want you to agree with me. If you want to challenge me, that's great. Do the research yourself. And, this weekend, and I don't know, I know I haven't talked to you a lot since last week, but this weekend when I was out, I have a dear friend of mine, and she's just a great friend, and she's left. And we were out this weekend, and of course, she was coming to meet me. I've been friends with her for about 5-6 years. And I had my Doge shirt on, gift from my father, which I love. Thank you. And she purposely showed up with her blue hat that said, Make America Smart Again. And when she came in, she sat by me. She gave me a hug. We got some beers. And she says, I wore this hat for you. And I says, I would love to tell you I wore this shirt for you, but I didn't. I just wore the shirt because I like it. And we were talking a little bit about politics. And the majority of my friends are Trumpers. They like Trump, and they feel the same way we do. So she was kind of getting a little attacked from all sides of the table, and I kind of had
to attack, right?
Well, I had to put the stop to it. I says, you know what, just let her go if she wants to think it. But I said, I want to ask you one question, and she goes, yes, what? I says, Kamala, when she would talk and give her speeches, did you enjoy did you learn anything? She goes, oh, she's brilliant. She was just brilliant. And I threw up my hands and I said, okay, that's fine. But I knew right then and there, I can't go any further. I can't have the conversation with her because I tried so hard to try to make sense out of what this woman was saying when she was running. And I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
I did make sense of the Kamala nonsense, okay?
Here we go.
It was to avoid the question. It was to not give an answer. Oh, thank you for asking. And yeah, by the way, I wore purple socks today to my friend's funeral. And they're like, oh, okay.
Anything to avoid it, right?
It was avoidance, right? It was not to answer any questions, not to give any information. And so for people, your friends are going to hate me. I don't really care. For people to think that that's brilliant, I think that there has been, and we spoke about this earlier, there has been roadblocks put in the way of a lot of these people. A lot of these people, whether it's media, education, doesn't matter what it is, there's these roadblocks. So like your one friend that listened to the college thing and he said, I disagree because of this and I disagree because of that. Well, I watched that episode last night.
Well, hold on one second. Let me interject. He said he was not agreeing that me and you said that reading and math were not important. And I had to clarify, and I said, we never said that. So
But
continue.
so what was interesting is, number one, he was commenting on it. Number two, he said he was disagreeing with it, but he was intrigued because he, on the subconscious level, he actually was agreeing with it. And we weren't saying that you didn't need math. We were just saying that it's about the end result. It's about getting there. It's about using your own critical mind to create a path to the answer, not following what somebody else is telling you that you have to do in order to get the answer, whether it's right or wrong. That's all. That's all we were saying.
Right.
So he spoke as though he didn't hear those words, but he was commenting because obviously it was intriguing. Obviously, at some degree, he did agree with you or us. And the funny thing is he'll probably be mad at when he listens to this one, but it's interesting because these people have these roadblocks, okay, in their head, and they're built in there to omit words that you've said, right? That really brings the meaning to what you're talking about.
Well, it's called hearing what you only want to hear.
Selective hearing, right? Exactly. So it's interesting when you listen to people, because a lot of the people that I know that are left, right? If I do talk to them, they'll say the same thing, but then I'll explain something to them about how I came up with that thought, and then all of a sudden they're like, I agree with that, and it's just a difference in explanation. So I think it's just getting them past that roadblock that's been intentionally put in place, so people will follow the agendas.
Yeah, and plus I told him, I says, we're going to do a follow-up episode because this one's gotten a ton of feedback. And I said we were really bound by 30 minutes, which was really a tight schedule, which we are today, most of the shows.
You can't explain a lot in 30 minutes. I mean, you got to, I think there's a lot of things when I watch, and I'm very critical of myself, and I know I'm not that good, but like when I said, helicopter drops you off, what I meant was a helicopter drop you off in the middle of nowhere, maybe a couple 100 miles from nothing with, almost nothing in your possession, and you have to figure out how to survive or succumb, right? Those are your options. And most people are going to succumb because they have no survival skills. They have no critical thinking skills. They have no logic. They have no common sense.
Yeah, that circles back to the common sense. But
exactly.
I valued his opinion because, of course, what we're saying, especially when it comes to something like that college, we're going to get people that disagree with us.
Pissed. They're going to be pissed.
And I have to say, his reasoning for disagreeing with us didn't really anger me. I understood it, be it that he's very successful, he's very smart, and he's a great friend. I have a lot of respect for him, and I understand his disagreement. He's very well educated, obviously went to law school and everything, so I'm okay with the counteractive thought process on this. It's okay. But I was just happy that he was listening. And it's not that, I'm going to sit there and stomp my feet and say, you're crazy, you're nuts.
No.
But, in that episode, I did say, what about the boss that says college grads show determination? They show how they can work through problems. And I spoke with someone else who said, yeah, that's for sure. And I asked this person, who is a supervisor, I said, would you rather hire someone who, say they were both kind of equal in their job performance. Would you rather hire someone who has a college degree or someone who doesn't? And they kind of leaned toward a college degree, which made sense to me. I get it because this person knows how to go away to school, knows how to balance fun time, playtime with studying, and they know how to have deadlines, reach goals, achieve goals. So I get that. I understand that. But I think we could revisit this next time when we do the episode.
Yeah, and my perspective isn't everyone has their own truth, right? My perspective on it is programming, right? Education is programming, okay? It's programming the computer, your computer, okay? It's getting you to do what they want you to do, and then if you're a good follower, you're going to get a job working for somebody, right? If you're an entrepreneur, it's not going to work. But the other part is that it's education, right? And the education, in my opinion, is programming. And when you don't have the education, or you're not able to go along with the education, a lot of times the reason why you're not good at education, okay, is because number one, you're not a follower, And number 2, okay, critical thought. But number 3, chances are you have some wisdom, right? And wisdom comes from billions of years, right? It comes from our Creator. It comes from past lives. It comes from a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't believe in. Wisdom is something that is built into you spiritually. Education is something that's taught to this body, right? This body. And so education is scratching the surface. Wisdom is so much simpler. It's a simplistic thought, but it's so much above and beyond education. But what we're programmed with the education is somebody that's educated is smarter than somebody that's not educated, and it couldn't be further from the truth, because all it is programming. It has nothing to do with wisdom. So anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but it's in my opinion, it's a misunderstanding of what is being done to you.
Well, yeah, and I'm pretty sure that once we title this show, which I'm sure is going to have common sense in it, and it's out there, I'm pretty sure he's going to click it and listen to it, and I'm pretty sure as soon as he's done, he's going to be sending me a text. I know. And,
I hate that Hanson guy.
You know, that's fine. He's a great friend of mine, and like I said before, I don't want to lose his friendship over politics, but I do respect his opinion on things.
Okay.
You know,
if
we were to sit down, like he comes in like once every couple years, and we meet up at the bar and we talk. If he were to sit down and say, okay, we're face to face, let's have a little discussion about politics, because normally it's through texting. And you know what, with texting, it's hard to, you know, you can't
you don't get the feeling, the emotion.
Yeah. So when we're face to face, we could talk and discuss, and we're not going to yell at each other. We're not going to scream. We're not going to hit each other. We're going to have we're both adults and, professional people, but I value his opinion, just like I value anybody else who listens. Now, meeting a lot of your friends a couple weeks ago, a lot of your friends have the same values and opinions that I do, that you do. So I know a lot of people who listen. I actually met a lot of the listeners, and great people out there that I met. There were a few of them that just really stood out. And I appreciate, and even if they were to come forward and say, hey, I disagree with this, I would love to hear it. Because not everybody is going to agree with everything. There are things I say you don't agree with, and vice versa. But, I find it interesting. But as we start to wrap up, or we got a few more minutes before the hard break, but getting back to common sense, I think it's important. I think this is, like you had said earlier, this is a topic that we could bring up many times over, and I'm pretty sure we're going to readdress this and let the listeners know that we do have a follow-up to the college. Do you need it? Let me repeat that question. Do you need it? We are going to readdress that episode and talk about it, because we've gotten a lot of feedback, and I want to talk about some more. You have any closing thoughts?
No, any decision, right? Any decision you make, any information that's given to you, anything that happens to you, right? Think about it logically, okay? Back yourself out, take the emotion out of it, and think of it logically, okay?
Yeah.
And you can create some common sense. But if you're just in the area where you want what everybody else wants, and you want to follow, the trend or the what's cool or whatever, then you're not. Unfortunately, I'm going to tell you don't have common sense. And be a leader, okay? Try and be a leader. I'm not saying that everyone that works for somebody else is a follower. What I'm trying to say is you need to be a leader in your own way. You need to have your own thoughts. You need to not think like everyone else, okay? Right. And you separate yourself, but use common sense to create your own logic, to create your own truth, and life gets better. That's the only closing statement that I have.
Well, it's easier said than done for some people. Some it's not, but I agree with your sentiment totally. And this half hour went by quick, like it always does. We'll have a lot more episodes coming up. I want to remind everybody the website, straight up, the DonHanstonshow.com. Make sure you go there and check it out. Also, you can email us, whether you agree or disagree, straightupdonhanston@gmail.com. That's straightupdonhanston@gmail.com. You can also check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, iHeartRadio. We have a lot of outlets, getting a lot of downloads on those things. Also, if you're watching us or listening to us on YouTube, first of all, thank you. Second of all, hit the like button for us. Gives us a hand a little bit. Also, hit the subscribe button. This way you're notified anytime a new show is aired. Also, if you subscribe and hit the bell. And leave us a comment. You can leave us a comment on YouTube as well. Say you're not an email guy. Say you don't want to go to the website and you're on YouTube. Leave us a comment, whether it's positive or negative. We'd love to hear it. But we thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon here with Straight Up, the Don Hanston Show. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.